This lady you see here, his name is Muka, and the house she's been living in for 5 years has been sort of a curse to her because she got stabbed and burned in the house, and she saw that it was abandoned. It was a kitchen before, so she decided to start living in this house because she had nowhere to live. Ever since COVID, Muka has been living a pretty terrible life because she used to be able to sell stuff so she could gain money and feed herself and her kids, but because of COVID, she hasn't been able to. Her neighbors would be the ones seeing her and feeling sorry for her because she has no food, and they would bake sweet potato and give to her and she would eat. Then after that, go to bed. Then the next morning, wake up and try to find a thing that she could do because she had to make money. When Muka was 9 years old, she moved from the village to the city so that she could start a new life because she didn't have any parents and she was homeless. When she moved to the city, she started looking for a job as a house girl and soon would get married in the city and have 5 kids. But then she would divorce her husband because her husband was making her life miserable, and she would live in this piece of junk, as she calls the house, for 5 years. When she lives in this house, her 5 children leave because they can't live with her and she doesn't have any space for them at all. Ever since she split up with her husband, she has not went to visit him, and the only time they would talk is when they would see each other while walking past each other, and they would talk and say, "Hello, how are you?" But besides that, they would not talk ever since they split up. They would not go visit each other, and her husband did not have money either. Muka has 5 kids, 4 girls and 1 boy who's 5th oldest, and the boy goes to school and is learning at this point, like in college, 2nd semester, he's learning in college. And because of COVID, her son wants to drop out of college, and he asks his mother for money so that he could get a ticket to come back to the city. Muka feels guilty as a mother because she doesn't raise or live with any of her 4 other kids because she doesn't have enough money, and this house of hers, the abandoned house, is not big enough to fit all of them. She's also guilty for knowing that her children live with strangers because they don't have food and they ask for food and money. The reporter asked Muka if she ever considered going back to village and living with her siblings, and she said that she had already left and came to the city and did not know anyone in the village again because she had already left at a very young age and could not return there, for she didn't have a house, money, or anything there. And so she stayed in the city because she had nothing to do with the village anymore. Muka says that she's been living in this abandoned house for a while, and anyone that would see her would just look at her and pass by her, and some other people would just come see her, laugh at her, and then just walk away. But the most important thing is that she once had an incident where some person actually came and put hot boiling bean water on her. She also got stabbed by the person, and she really doesn't know the reason the person came and did it. The person was just like a regular person walking around. You could see a woman or man, it could be that person, because she really doesn't know the reason for the hot boiling water. Muka was able to get soldiers to arrest the person that had stabbed her and put hot boiling bean water on her, but the hospital that she went to said that they needed money for her to get the cure she needed, and the person was let go. When reporters asked Muka if she knew the person that had burned her and stabbed her, she said yes, and she said she was sleeping in the house, the abandoned house, and she was cooking beans, and then the person saw her and grabbed the beads and threw it at her, and also stabbed her on the top of her head. Just wait a little and she's gonna show you where she got stabbed on top of her head. As you can see, it hurt a lot, it was very hard, and she could not get medication for that because she wasn't rich, she didn't have no money at all, and she used to work, but because of COVID she doesn't. When reporters asked Muka if she knew anything about the person that had sprayed her and stabbed her with hot water with beans, she said that she knew the person as like a neighbor. They passed by each other, wave, talk, say hello, how are you, how's your kids. They would really just talk and did not have any unwanted business or any drama. But the person still came up to her and did that which the person had done. Because Muka was homeless and not have money, she ran to soldiers and they called the hospital. When they called the hospital, the ambulance came and got her, and while she was at the hospital, she got stitched on the top of her head, and that was all. She was taken to a room. After 3 days. She decided to tell the doctors that she was leaving because she did not have any money to pay and they weren't helping her. And when she was about to leave, the doctors gave her pills and medicine to take, and when she comes back with money, she could get the surgery she needed. Her neighbors would see her and tell her, oh, put on grass on your back, it would get better. And then she would do it and do everything her neighbors told her. She was basically played by her neighbors because she was very desperate. And her neighbors would tell her to do something and she would do it because she was desperate to get this surgery. Reporters asked her what grade is her third child. She said her third child is in grade 9 in high school and needs a couple years so she could go to college. Her first and second child became lazy and stopped working, only the third is. And her other children under the third one are also in school. Her first and second child were very lazy, did not like to go to school, and when they got kicked out, expelled, she would come and beg for the teachers to let them back in. But it got to a point where the kids would just be lazy for years. If she could ask for anything, if anyone could give her anything, she said she would like her life to get better. She doesn't really think she needs the surgery as much because she wants to see her children grow up and become people who are very strong and powerful, because at her age she says she's done for. She can't really do anything else. She just wants her children to continue with their studies. Guys, I would like to add that Muka is 4th, 3rd, and 5th child are going to school and they're living not with her at all. Her other 2 children are just sitting down, basically doing nothing. And the 2 oldest, they don't go to school, and when she was going to pay for her 3 youngest, she saw them that they were sitting down, had nothing to do, so she said, oh, let me pay for them to go to school so they can have something to do instead of just sitting down like their 2 older siblings. But the 2 older ones are just sitting down at this point, not doing anything. Don't have money. She can't live with her children because she doesn't have money and doesn't have a place. She divorced her husband, and one of her children, 5th oldest, wants to come back to her, needs a ticket for the bus, but she doesn't have that kind of money. At this point, it's kind of sad, and I'd like you guys to stay tuned till the end. When reporters asked Muka if she knew where her children were, where they're living, the people that they're living with, she said yes, she knows where they are. She could go visit them. They come to visit her. The only one that doesn't visit her is her 5th oldest, the boy, because he needs a ticket to drop out and to come back and take a bus back to where she's living. Guys, as you can see, Muka's life is not good at all, and it's sort of like a mess because her 5 children aren't living with her. She's living in this abandoned house, and she's been sprayed with hot water and stabbed. I'd like you all to subscribe, show your support to Muka, send this video, share, comment, like, and go to the GoFundMe page at the bottom at the link so you can click and donate anything you have. At this point of the story, it's sad because you now know that she has 5 children, right? Only 3 of them go to school. The other 2 don't work and they're lazy and they live with strangers because they don't work. And